Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning. We are at 6 hours and about 39 minutes into Uganda's 63rd birthday, and that is on this 9th day of October 2025. At exactly 12 a.m. on 9th October 1962, the British Union Jack was lowered and the Uganda flag was raised. Now, I can only imagine for anyone who was present at the Kololo Independence Grounds, and they are still alive today, the memories they live and relive every single 9th of October. The memories they live to tell, but of course the memories they also relive as they tell the nostalgic moment of those flags switching, the Union Jack lowering and the Uganda flag being raised. Happy Independence Day, Uganda. This is Good Morning Uganda on UBC TV. My name is Julie F. Nantaba, and I am with Robert Chirabo Nyonyintono, coming to you live from Nile Avenue. And to just give you a bit of African nationalism history, especially if you did what we used to call African Nash, here's a bit of, and especially if you do not know much of the detail regarding independence, or maybe you want those memories to be relieved and just awakened in this particular moment. The October 9th, 1962 is when Uganda became an independent nation, marking the end of the protectorate, Uganda protectorate. But post-independence, initially Queen Elizabeth II remained the nominal head of state as Queen of Uganda. And in 1963, Uganda became a republic and the Kabaka of Buganda, Sir Edward Mutesa II, became the first president, with Milton Obote as the prime minister. Now, looking at more of the historical context, Uganda had a history as a British protectorate, which consolidated the various kingdoms and chieftaincies of the region. Now, a constitutional conference in London in 1961 paved the way for the independence process. The first post-independence government was formed by an alliance between the Uganda People's Congress and Kabaka Yika. And the significance, really, independence signifies that the attainment of sovereignty and the ability for Uganda to self-govern. The event is commemorated annually on 9th October, and the Uganda Independence Monument in Kampala symbolizes the nation's achievement of freedom from British rule. Now, the question is, as a Ugandan, do you know where the Independence Monument is? It's a task Robert and I gave you yesterday. But looking at some of the deeper history that started nudging the journey to independence, we do see that the Berlin Conference of 1884 to 1885 was a meeting of colonial powers that concluded with the signing of the General Act of Berlin, and an agreement regulating European colonization and trade in Africa during the new imperialism period. And the conference of 14 countries was organized by Otto von Bismarck, the first Chancellor of Germany, at the request of Leopold II of Belgium, at a building number 77 and now number 92 on Berlin's Central Wilmestrasse. It met on 15th November 1884, and after an adjournment concluded on 26 February 1885 with the signing of the General Act. During the conference, attendees also discussed other related issues and agreed on a common framework for the recognition of European effective occupation of Africa coastal territory elsewhere on the continent. And after the conference, the peace of European claims being made on African territory increased, part of the scramble for Africa that had already begun. Now, looking at today's celebrations, 23 distinguished Ugandans, 15 men, 18 women, pardon me, 8 women, not 18, 8 women, 15 men, will be honored for their exceptional service and contribution to the nation of Uganda during this year's 63rd birthday, and will be celebrated under the theme 63 Years of Independence, a reason to double our efforts in sustaining a united and progressive nation. And the Minister for Presidency, Millie Babalanda, emphasized that the theme calls on Ugandans to reflect on the country's journey and work harder to strengthen unity, peace, and progress. In fact, the highlight there for me, every independence is reflect. But I've talked enough. Let me allow Robert to also share what his mind is carrying this morning. Good morning, Robert.
Good morning, and please join me.
Right.
Oh, Uganda, may God uphold thee. We lay our future in thy hand. United, free, for liberty, together we'll always stand. Now we are making 63
Right.
today, but a shame is over 50% of Ugandans cannot sing the national anthem.
Even the first stanza.
Even the first stanza. No, if you go to the second and third, please spare us. I've covered a number of functions. I've listened to people. As a journalist, you keenly listen, including those in the big offices. Now, for those in the big offices, mama, when you go to these local and the president has come or someone, they sing the national anthem, disaster. Some will sing things you've never heard.
Right.
May God oppose thee, rule our future in thy eye.
Oh, wow.
And then you're like, Jesus.
Now this
63 years down the road,
this is an
and
opportunity
Ugandans
for
cannot sing the national anthem.
for I guess the Parliament of Uganda, for every time it's endorsing different men and women who are to serve in big public offices. Perhaps that should be
one of the interviews. And you fail if you can't sing the national anthem. It's a shame, because what represents us as a nation, and what were the key highlights of the 9th of October 1968? One, the Union Jack was put down, signifying that Uganda was a British protectorate since 1894. It was put down. What was raised in cheers and laughter and joy was our national flag. That I can say almost many know our flag.
Right.
You know, people don't mistake, where even if you put it on a car, they will know that's the flag. But what next brought the significance and the colorfulness and the relevance that we are a nation, an independent nation, is the anthem of "Oh God Bless the King" or "Save the Queen" was sung for the very last time, and we sang our national anthem. Now,
Right.
we cannot talk about if we have achieved, if we haven't, when you're there and you can't sing the national anthem. You're the first problem.
Very interesting at that. What a warning, and what a moment to reflect indeed, in case you do not know the national anthem. At least the first
You find people there,
the first
what have we
stanza.
achieved?
Take
You
some
who
time
can't
off,
even sing the
and
national anthem.
it is on the internet, and you can just go get the lyrics and learn it for yourself. Oh Uganda, this is a prayer. May King Jesus uphold thee. Robert, what do we have on the long
Well, we begin with President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, who has announced that government will not hesitate to sack defiant arts teachers who are currently striking over what they have termed as unfair salary disparities, which has placed science teachers above them. Addressing a joint radio talk show from Bariregi State Lodge in Lida District, As part of his campaign trail in the region, Museveni referred to the arts teachers as enemies of progress of the country. President Museveni maintains that the country as of now needs to prioritize experts over historians. To plaster his case, Museveni used Soroti Flying School as a case study where poor remuneration of professionals had stunted its operation. To the arts teachers, who seemed to be adamant and stubborn, Museveni seemed to be dropping the soft gloves as he warns, punching them out of the classrooms. On the political scene, the NRM presidential flag bearer is confident of winning back the election. According to President Museveni, the continuity of the party has always been anchored on values, progress, registered in the last 39 years of his reign. For questions pertaining the failure by Uganda People's Congress to front a presidential candidate, Museveni said he knows nothing. The media engagement also sought to know from the president his take on Uganda's political succession plan, a question he refers scholars to seek an answer from the 1995 Uganda's constitution. The joint radio talk show marks the last campaign program for candidate Museveni in Lang'o sub-region, although for the district of Kole, Lira, and Lila City, an alternative program will come in later. Robert Kyagulanyi Ssentamu, the National Unity Platform NUP presidential flag bearer, urged the people of Kyankwanzi and Chiboga to vote for him in the upcoming 2026 general elections. Kyagulanyi promised to transform the lives of residents by improving education, healthcare, and road infrastructure. The presidential candidate for FDC, Nathan Nandada Mafabi, faulted individuals who have taken others' land forcefully, emphasizing that the Constitution of Uganda does not allow one to take another's asset. While addressing a press conference at Hoima Coupling Hotel, Mafabi said that people whose land has been taken by grabbers will get it back, and those who lost cattle will also be compensated. This was before he embarked on his campaign program to Hoima and Bulisa. General Mugisha Muntu's campaign in Buhweju West constituency, specifically in Bihanga Town Council, focuses on agriculture and infrastructure affecting the hard-to-reach areas in Buhweju district. General Muntu's emphasis is on agriculture and economic development might resonate well with the people of Buhweju. President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni urged Ugandans, particularly politicians, to practice tolerance to foster peace and unity among the country's citizens. President Museveni was addressing attendees of this year's National Prayer Breakfast that was hosted at State House Entebbe. It's 27 years now since Uganda started the National Prayer Breakfast, a platform that brings together senior government officials, clergy, and other stakeholders to pray for the country, its economy, families, and most importantly, thank God for his protection and guidance plus provision. Former inmate that was once condemned to death row, Chris Rakasisi, was the face of this year's National Prayer Breakfast that was held at State House Entebbe. Recalling his 24 years in prison, Rakasisi praised President Yoweri Museveni for being a rare gene with a big heart and ability to work with his enemies. Rakasisi's testimony resonated with the day's sermon that was delivered by Bishop J.B. Masinde of Deliverance Church, Umoja of Kenya. Addressing the congregation, President Museveni first lauded Parliament for sustaining the national prayer culture. Commenting on Rakasisi's testimony, President Museveni categorically stated that it was the work of God that led him to pardon his former enemy. President Museveni then asked Ugandans to learn to tolerate one another, especially in the political sphere. To give the closing prayer was the First Lady and Minister for Education and Sports, Janet Kataha Museveni. The 27th National Prayer Breakfast, under the theme the power of forgiveness and reconciliation. Now, coming to the end of our local stories this morning, civil servants under various unions, including UNATU, TVET, and Uganda local government workers, have petitioned Parliament over the long-standing issues of salary disparities. The workers said the unequal pay structures have highly affected service delivery across all sectors. While addressing them, the Speaker of Parliament, Anita Among, cited that Parliament resonates with them, committing that their issues will be handled expeditiously, however advising them to return to work. Effective September this year, arts teachers across the country have been undergoing an industrial action which left many students unattended to over issues of salary disparities that reduced since the financial year of 2022-2023. Recently, their action did not leave out TVET institutions and local government workers who cited similar challenges. Following this, the workers under their unions petitioned Parliament regarding this issue. The TVET workers also want public service to recognize some subjects such as commerce and agriculture as science programs to enable equal salary structure. While receiving the petition, the Speaker of Parliament, Anita Among, cited that Parliament will ensure that these concerns are addressed. She further advised them to reconsider their decision and call off the industrial action. This engagement was also attended by the Workers' MP, Ra Kajara. Following the closure of this meeting, petitioners cited they are to engage with their members to devise a solution to the Speaker's request. Now, that brings us to the end of our local stories. The teachers, industrial action, the president says, well, you're now enemies of progress. I think you should return to work as we see the way forward, or you may lose out. But I told you one thing, that a teacher being in class and teaching are two different things.
That's true. I think the President, Your Excellency, you should consider that. That teacher being in class
And teaching
are two different things.
things.
I do agree with you on that, Robert. And regarding the National Prayer Breakfast, the theme was the power of forgiveness and the ability to reconcile. And my 2 cents are, indeed, there is power in forgiveness. There is power in reconciliation. Rarely, though, do we talk about the need to heal and the power therein. I leave that for you as we move on to the foreign scene and have a look at what's taking place there. We're starting off with matters social media, and that is in the Afghanistan. Well, restrictions have been placed on content of some on social media platforms in Afghanistan, Taliban government sources told the BBC, and the filters have been applied to restrict certain types of content on sites including Facebook, Instagram, and X. The sources at the Ministry of Communications and Information Technology said it is not clear exactly what sort of posts are subject to filtering. Some social media users in Kabul told the BBC that videos on their Facebook accounts are no longer viewable, while access to Instagram has also been restricted. These restrictions on social media content come a week after internet and telecommunication services were cut off across the country for 2 days. The move caused widespread problems for citizens, and its end was greeted with celebration. The 48-hour blackout disrupted businesses and flights, limited access to emergency services, and raised fears about further isolating women and girls whose rights have been severely eroded since the hardline Islamist group swept back to power in 2021. Now, let's move on to matters Israel. United States President Donald Trump says Hamas and Israel have agreed on the first phase of his plan for a ceasefire in the war on Gaza and an exchange of captives. Mediator Qatar said that more details of the agreement would be announced at a later date. Quote unquote, The mediators announced that tonight an agreement was reached on all the provisions and implementation mechanisms of the first phase of the Gaza ceasefire agreement, which will lead to ending the war, the release of Israeli hostages and the Palestinian prisoners, and the entry of aid. The details will be announced later. Qatar's Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokesperson Majed Al-Ansari wrote on X, "The announcement came hours after Trump said negotiations were going very well and that he may travel to the Middle East later this week. Quote unquote, I may go there sometime toward the end of the week, maybe on Sunday," he told reporters at White House on Wednesday. Now coming to the continent, Robert, I think you remember sometime this week, the president of Cameroon sent a statue of himself and his wife for campaigns because he was quite unwell. But well,
That is Brother Paul Biya.
yes,
Definitely, Brother Paul Biya.
he's 92 years, but the world's oldest head of state, 92-year-old President Paul Biya, formally kicked off his bid for an eighth term in office during a rally in the far north town of Marua on Tuesday. Footage shows Biya arriving with a motorcade and addressing a sea of supporters and local leaders in a rare public appearance. People of the far north region, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, I am deeply touched to see that so many of you have come to meet me. Thank you for your warm welcome. Thank you for your affection. Thank you for the support that you have shown me year after year, the president said. Despite the difficulties of everyday life, despite the false predictions, despite the slander, the fabrications. Yes, dear friends, you have remained loyal to the institutions since I assumed the highest office, he added. Biya has governed since 1982, making him one of Africa's longest-serving leaders. His campaign pledges emphasized continuity, citing infrastructure projects, public services, and national security as his priority areas. Critics accuse Biya of suppressing dissent and centralizing power. Anyways, let's quickly take a look at what we have in the press. The man was president even before the Bush war.
I just feel it is not how long one has stayed in power.
Yeah.
As long as it's not against the country's constitution and this person wins through the ballot. That is very important. If it's still the people's choice. And you know, sometimes we talk about change. But you see, change can either be positive or negative. So if you look at change to be negative, to take you back to the bad days, why choose change and not retain what you have?
Right.
You know, you shouldn't just get excited for change. No. If you're not very sure that the change you're craving for is going to be in the positive direction, then don't make that change.
Right. What do we
Now,
have
I'll go to the New Vision this morning. Dubai farm to supply ballot papers. Then there's a picture of His Excellency, then Rakasisi, and the First Lady. That is the 27th National Prayer Breakfast that was held yesterday. Now, also, candidates pledge to tackle issues on land unity and minerals. There are also 80 pages of special pullout regarding Independence Day. Now, allow me quickly move to the Daily Monitor this morning. Now, Museveni tells of striking teachers. And, well, that is the Independence Monument on the Daily Monitor there. I guess you know where it is. Presidential candidates weigh in on Uganda at 63. What do they have to say? The Lizard, I'm not reading your message this morning. And a very disturbing story here. Cop faces stiff penalty for slapping shop lady over beer and condoms. Now, fellow men, this is just a word of advice. You find that most of the times men go in trouble and not when they're with their wives. I don't know what happens to men when they have the so-called side chicks. You know, they tend to lose themselves. I condemn not being faithful as a Christian. I advocate for being faithful with one woman. But of course, practically, there are certain things that are not possible for everybody. Now, the moment you know you're with these side chicks, be very, first I condemn it, be very careful. We had one who served a jail sentence. If he was with his wife in that car and maybe someone scratched, he wouldn't have pulled a gun and shot who he shot, who reached in hospital and claimed or made that confession that the man who brought me is the one who shot me. I won't mention the name.
Right.
Now that has an impact on your career, on your family. Now look at this young police officer. A young man blessed with a
Indeed.
good rank, you know,
Sad
early morning
indeed.
with a side chick
Sad
over
indeed.
beer and condoms. Now, how would you tell you people? Be very,
Anyways,
well, that's what the devil does. He will at one point ashame you and let
Indeed.
you go.
Right, let's have a look at what we have in the Citizen. A quick look at the headline there. Pension funds in Africa eye development. Kitty, for the first time, pension funds across Africa are seeking to pool their resources to address the continent's development challenges, aiming to reduce dependence on traditional foreign funding sources, according to the leaders of the African pension industry. Fresh hope for pigeon pea farmers as Tanzania, India discuss agreement. And also Tanzania behind Zanzibar power stabilization urges more diaspora investment. Looking at what we have in the Daily Nation, Ruto, Gideon in State House talks. That's a headline over there. And another story to look into, top judge fights bribery claims. Also in the Daily Nation, matters in the region, church preaches wine and drinks it from a new bottle. Interesting. And how state borrowed 95 billion in 4 months. Also forged DNA test, 10 million loan and a bitter paternity dispute, as well as sermons outrage as Treasury Permanent Secretary snubs House team 16 times. Now let's have a short break as we enjoy some music that is to celebrate Uganda, the Pearl of Africa. Good morning, Uganda.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Topic of the day on UBC.
He expected me to die like within the first 2 years.
Out of the blue, the child will get pains, especially in the wrists. And this happens commonly when children are starting to walk.
Was brought to you by
I'll call you every day, yeah, yo, baby, don't go low.
You can now get all the Chibuzi out with MTN voice bundles. Call all networks. Kubei Dondoro. Buy a 25-minute voice bundle for only 1,000. Or buy any daily voice bundle of your choice. Dial *100 *21# and select daily, or use the My MTN app. When we talk together, we are unstoppable.
Exercise can't be sustained. Eating can't be stopped. It's even harder to lose weight. Come and give it a try. Genshikang L-carnitine chromium capsules. Plant extract, scientific ratio. Take 3 capsules each time. The active ingredient accelerates fat burning. Eat twice a day. Don't take a detour. Weight loss starts now. Genshikang L-carnitine with chromium capsules helps you stay in shape. Please follow medical advice when taking this product. For more information, visit our website www.hgo.com or call 0800 335555.
Every waking day is a reminder just how beautiful this, our land, truly is. The kind of beauty that you can only find here. In the lush green all around us and the wondrous sights within. It's what you feel in the gentle caress of tropical wind from the mountaintops. And the glow in your heart from a warm neighborly invite. Explore Uganda, the pearl of Africa.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
A very good morning to you. Happy Independence Day, Uganda. And this morning, let's look at indeed the 63 years of independence. What exactly it means to you as a Ugandan. Do we still celebrate independence anyway? Given that it's a public holiday, do you take that time off to either stay away from work? Well, if you're not doing jobs like the ones Robert and I do you take that time to actually maybe make it to Kololo to celebrate? How are Ugandans celebrating independence? Let's look at the whole picture. With you, of course, 0709602592 is the WhatsApp number that you should engage and be a part of the conversation. Robert, let's start with the fact that Uganda is independent. Do you think, are we really independent in your perspective?
Thank you so very much. I would say to a larger extent.
Okay.
We are independent because you must accept that the white man left, but his footsteps are still clear. we have what we call the invisible hand in most of these former British protectorates. Now, what do we mean by being independent? Let's begin by that. In a layman's language, if they say someone is independent, it means, for example, I'll use a young man, these days even ladies, you're under your father's house since you're young, he was looking after you, everything of your life depended on him. Now you go to school, you graduate, you get a job, you leave home. It is you to govern your life, not forgetting the values that were instilled in you.
Right.
But it's you to govern your life. Now, we say you're now independent. I hear there's a term also called independent women. I don't know what that means, but at least I can define well for the man. This boy child now becomes a man. You look after yourself. You don't rely on your parents anymore, except for advice and, of course, like I said, those values.
I think it applies to women as well.
Now, that is being independent.
When you clock 18 and you are doing life, at the end of the day, you're an independent adult.
Well, that's it, but you're talking about financially and all this.
For as long as you're working, you're fending for yourself as a woman.
I don't want to open a tin of worms this morning. Most of you are discussing 63 years of independence.
Right.
Now, for a nation, what does it mean to be independent? One, it means that the people of that country are running the affairs of the country. When we were still a British protectorate, we were ruled by the Queen of England through her people. You know, she would send periodically who is now looking after this protectorate. When we talked about our parliament, it wasn't what it is today. It was the white man. Talk about the Chief Justice, the judiciary, the three arms of government were never under our rule. Today, as we speak, all three arms of government, the executive, legislature, the judiciary, are in the hands of Ugandans. We've had presidents that are Ugandans. Our borders are all protected by us. It is no longer the British. Now, that means that the politics of our country is in our hands, so we are independent. That means the security of our country is in our hands.
Right.
Uganda is an independent state. The security is by us Ugandans. Now, we go to economic independence. Are we economically independent? One would say we are using our currency, we determine so much, but we still have a challenge to fully economic independence. That is why the IMF still dictates certain things. That's why after we get our budget, we think of our development partners. When you make your budget, you cannot domestically fund it 100%, not even 90%. But you have a budget and you assume our donor partners now gotten from here. That's why when we try to show our independence, there is a recent example when our parliament stood firm and said homosexuality, call it lesbianism, they call themselves the what? There is a term. LGBT, that whatever, LGBTQ and plus, there is a plus every time they put on, they are adding something new. Now, we said no. I want to tell you, it took a courageous president, it took a courageous speaker to step foot and say, no matter what, our motto is for God and my country, and we are saying no. Remember what happened? Aid. We ran into a panic mode. We have this number of people on ARVs. You can't sacrifice them because of this. We have, and I want to tell you, maybe we even had to tone down on certain areas, make clarifications. No, we did not ban homosexuality. We said if you can do it privately, what we don't want. You know, we had to do so much because economically, we are on the right trajectory. But the thing is, we still have challenges for economic independence.
Right.
Uganda has a national flag that globally is known, that is a state of Uganda. We have our national anthem. So you find that symbols of independence, we have them. So by and large, Uganda is independent. I think our biggest challenge is economic the aspect of economic independence, that is where we still have challenges. That he who pays the piper determines the tune. As long as we are still relying so much on foreign aid, as long as we are still running to the IMF, we are running to these global banks that are dominated, you will find we'll still have a challenge in that. So that's why I enjoy my president, listening to him whenever he lays down structures of how best we can improve our economy to get to levels when we can sustain our budget.
And allow me take you back. I felt that I needed to, I don't know, have a say in this. Now that you've addressed the president, talked about the president, one of the many, many achievements that he has had for the nation of Uganda that is outrightly said, like I told you yesterday, I was having a conversation with an older person, the older generation, and they told me that the only reason they choose to go to that ballot and vote for one person, and that is the current president of Uganda, is the fact that the freedom he brought, he has defended the rights of a woman. So every time they think about their safety, as simple as being safe on the road, or maybe the law being on her side as a woman, she'll go ahead and tick. And when we opened this conversation, we talked about, of course, independence as to gender or not. And I would say that, well, as the years have evolved, even independence, not just for the nation, but it has trickled down to the gender norms, Whilst back in the day it was for a woman to be taken care of from marriage to another home where she should be taken care of, which still remains because it's biblical. But you now notice that with the ways the world has changed, if now Uganda has availed platforms for this woman to go to school, to attain all these degrees, PhDs, and become that brain and power that she is. That means she's able to earn. She's employed at the end of the day. And that means by the time she clocks 18, she has a mindset that leads her to live an independent life. Not to say that she's to break the code of, in case she chooses to get married, that is, that she's to break the code of what a marriage should be like and who should do what. And the good thing is, even the Bible that we read says that a man is not independent from a woman, and neither is a woman independent from a man in the context of marriage. So at the end of the day, you're all equals. So says the Bible, not myself. Now
here you're bringing trouble, but
it is the Bible. I follow the Bible, not man, the Bible. But let's come back to the conversation of Uganda's independence. Do you think Ugandans are emotionally attached in this day and age, 63 years later, are emotionally attached to celebrating the independence?
Now, one of the worst things that we've not done as a country and those that are in leadership is educating Ugandans about their country. We've studied so much, the prairies, the South Africa and what, but deliberate, I don't know. I love when the president talked about patriotic clubs in schools. You see, most of the Ugandans cannot connect with our history. 63 years, many were not there. So for them, many were not there in the pre-independence struggles, where I saw Ignatius Kangave Misazi, where we saw Kabaka Mutesa II, Dr. Milton Obote also did some work, and those that strived for our independence, they weren't there. Now, even when you tell them, also because now most of the countries on the African continent, all are independent states. Now, it is a normal. Some it is a given.
Right.
When you tell
it's an entitled right.
And we've not deliberately told Ugandans, taught these young generations that look, why you should celebrate independence. Because this is the day that your forefathers dreamt of, worked so much, lost lives, were exiled just to ensure that Uganda is an independent state. Right. Now, because these we've not instilled, given them as a priority, a kid is born in independent Uganda, just like a child born from some privileged countries. Privileged homes. You know? Remember, someone told the other, but Daddy, let his dad bring out the car. Because all his friends are brought in driving. He's seen a mommy, a car, daddy, a car. He thinks everyone has a car. Where's your dad's car? So, Ugandans, we have now Ugandans who are like that child. He thinks every family, bread must be available. You know? You say, but he thinks school vans must drive everybody because now, if you don't take time as the parent of this child to tell him, one, you should be grateful to God. Two, you should work hard that in your time you're able to provide this for your family. 3, I wake up very early. 4, this child will think it is a given, it must. So that's why you see that there is no attachment. Those who are there for them connect. For the elite and those that are visionary of Uganda do connect. I want to tell even many people who are going to gather at Kololo there. Many are there because they're invited. But there for the joy and celebration and the significance of independence, you may find maybe half of the collection there.
And if you say that, I think now it also goes back to the leadership and the systems. I feel perhaps if there's a different narrative in which this story is told, perhaps it could be sold to a young Ugandan who's dominating this nation. Because if they can't relate, then for what reason should they be there? If it does not relate to who they are now or where they are, for what reason should they? Even if it were me, for what reason should I be there? You
I
tell
think
me,
of late we see more Ugandans resonate and connect well with the NRM anniversary. You know, when you look at since 1986, every year when we celebrate. Do you know why? Because they are told that after independence, all the governments that came there had issues and didn't do so much. Now Uganda was rebirthed.
Yet even today,
So now for them, because their parents are still alive, majority of them, and they can tell them what they went through.
That's so true, but I also beg to still
So
speak
there are some of them,
to speak
because
for,
when your mother tells you, Judy, you're going to work. For us nowadays, how could you dare work? I was conducting business with some man yesterday, and he was like, how are you going to move with this cash? Now, it was like, told him, no, how go, I'm going to reach, and it was at night. And I said, go tambula and you get it? It was risky. It was, so there it comes to your mind. You appreciate that, hey, there was a time when someone wouldn't sell his cows and is paid late and has to travel. He would fear. He said, he told you a story, so you easily connect.
That's true, but
independence.
In the younger generation, one would ask, yes, we got the story, but what story are we building for our generation based on the foundation of that was? And I think for me, that's where the confusion is 63 years later. The confusion with our generation, with the younger generation, is the fact that, all right, what story are we building for the later generation to tell from ours, to have been told from that generation? There's still a lot of confusion, if you ask me. But 0709602592 is the WhatsApp number that you should engage and be a part of the conversation. We are looking at 63 years of Uganda's independence. Is it really independent? What does it mean to you? What do you really celebrate it? Or it's just another day that goes by and is talked about, and really you care less as a Ugandan.
It's just a public holiday, you're home. If you're a civil servant,
I know, right?
It's just
Let's
a public
look
holiday.
at arts and culture. One of the things about Ugandans, as known statistically, is Uganda is one of the happiest countries. And you can't talk about happiness without music, without art, without culture. And that's one of the things we really embrace. When you go to the National Theatre, it's always packed, by the way. You'd wonder how Ugandans know these things, but it's always packed for even daytime.
You mean there are people inside that building?
Yes.
Watching?
Yes, watching either a play or a dance production or whatever production there is to watch.
Julie, take me, please.
And sometimes they are free entry,
Please
FYI.
take me, please take me.
So let's speak into the role of arts and culture in Uganda, what the role it played then when we listen to the songs back then that were played. Many, you know, the Kadongo Kamus, the Eklas Kawalias, most of them had these songs that were really for independence, some of them for the presidents at that time post-independent. Now in our day and age, the music is quite confusing though. In fact, our old folks don't understand us. They don't understand what we are singing to, what we are composing for music. So what role do you think music and culture plays in this generation when it comes to recognizing independence?
First, we must commend and thank all those artists and musicians that have stuck to singing or sending messages of sense and value to society. We want to commend them that still sing messages, bring out in their music, in their dramas, messages that of national building, that of preserving our culture and heritage. We want to commend you. Now, also one thing we must understand, the arts industry usually moves with the times. And of late, I must say, please don't get me wrong, but many musicians today are not singing.
Oh, what are they doing?
Developmental music. Are not singing music that promotes our culture, promotes our history. Obscenity has taken over. Someone brings out a song and even puts money and says, he who guesses the meaning of that word. And at the end of the day, he says, the word had no meaning. There is one. There is a time he said, I want, because I want to be misinterpreted. Now, to a certain extent, it has helped to preserve. Because we still have our Mazina Maganda, we have our Kadodi, we have this. That helps people resonate. This is our culture. We still have people that stage plays, that talk about where Uganda has come from.
Right.
They paint for your picture. When you go, you say the National Theatre. I'm very sure there's some artists. One of the people I want to commend is Diplok Segawa. He will always have a song. But also the problem is now that there has been the various generations. The generation of the Kauzis of today. You know, for them, they simply want music where they can dance. As long as you can get them to dance. They don't listen to messages. No matter at the end of the day, they will listen to anything. Today they are listening to Mazungu. Today they are, you know, so there is so much that the arts sector can do.
Right.
In promoting peace, that is one. In teaching people about their history and in national development. But how do they make their music appealing to the generation? The white man left, but there is so much westernization that has taken over today. Judy, I want to tell you today, in some families, children not being able to speak their mother tongue is trendy. You know? You visit that, abamanyi Uganda. You know, you're like, excuse me, were they unfortunate that they were born in the United States or outside the African continent? No, they have been here, they have lived here, but they can't speak Luganda. And someone cherishes and says that with a smile. They can't speak Runyankole, they can't speak Kramajong, they can't speak, you get it. Now, the Western influence, we've coped so much that over a time, we are losing touch with what is ours. Today, there's just some wedding I was watching on some social media, and I saw things that can never be done in a setting where your in-laws are, and you know, and you're doing culture, our values. But it's okay. So at 63, one of the things we must observe that we've lost touch with culture, our norms, our values, what we believe in. If the institutions are threat, are the culture and traditional institutions.
Interesting. That being said, this conversation would go on and on and on, but we have to bring it to a close. And from what Robert has submitted. It looks like 63 years later, we are tangibly, you know, independent, but also certainly very far from independence. And that is just due to our mindsets, as simple as that. For now, Good Morning Uganda Tourism Express is up next, and I really do hope that it encourages you to be a Ugandan and embrace your Ugandan culture for God and our country. Good morning.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Exercise can't be sustained. Eating can't be stopped. It's even harder to lose weight. Come and give it a try. Genshikang L-carnitine chromium capsules. Plant extract, scientific ratio, take 3 capsules each time. The active ingredient accelerates fat burning, eat twice a day, don't take a detour. Weight loss starts now. Genshikang L-carnitine with chromium capsules helps you stay in shape. Please follow medical advice when taking this product. For more information, visit our website www.hgo.com or call 0800 335555.
Taxation is a bit complicated, and the only way to demystify it and make it as easy to understand and to comply with is through engagement. Is there a limit to the number of cars a returning citizen is bringing into Uganda? Who has paid the excise duty on this water is not the supermarket which has sold you this bottle at 1,000. It's not the business. It is the man who is going to drink this water. We strongly believe that it will only be through such constructive engagement that we'll be able to broaden our tax base and build our country together.
Buza Commissioner. Now you can get direct answers. Send your tax-related questions via WhatsApp or SMS to 0790-141-887, and the Commissioner General of URA, John Musinguzi, will personally address them. Tune in to UBC News Tonight every Monday and Wednesday for expert insights and clear explanations. Buza Commissioner.
Brought to you by Uniquely Ours. Explore Uganda.
Immaculate Heart Girls School near Chivale, and previously we just took you inside the museum, but right about now we are outside, and this is partly where these students get to also learn skills. This is Drive to Culinary Tourism, and we are yet to just dive into that. Good morning and welcome on the GMU Tourism Express. My name is Zakia Lucky. We have a number of items here, and this is a process, I'm told, that is going to take us to the final product, Kalo, that many of you have tested but do not know how this actually goes, how this is made and how it goes about, plus the products that are used to make this. With me is one of the students that is a part of the process, and she's going to be telling us what items or what is even taking place here. Please tell us about the process.
The items we need are a mortar and pestle, we need millet, then cassava, then entemere, the so-called baskets, then entire, those are winnowing baskets, and then a pot, oriko, that is
mingling stick,
then endio, those are
baskets.
Yes. Yes, so those are items that you need in the process. So take us through the process, starting from the very first one until we get to the final product.
So the first process is pounding, and in pounding, what is required is the pestle and the mortar. We pound the millet and then transfer it to the winnowing baskets. Yes, to the winnowing baskets. You winnow, then again transfer to the basket.
Is this the pounding process that you talked about?
Process.
Okay, from here, then we get to what they are doing.
Winnowing process.
Okay.
Yes. And after winnowing, you roast the millet. We roast in order to add flavor to the millet bread. Then after roasting, we transfer to the grinding stone. Grinding stones, yes. After grinding, the millet flour is transferred to a basket, which is either used for keeping the flour or taking it to the cooking place. Yes, and then the cassava, you dry it, and then you pound it as well. After pounding it, you also roast it separately, and thereafter you mix the cassava flour and the millet flour, and thereafter you boil water. After boiling, prepare millet bread. The ratio of millet to cassava is 1 to 2, meaning that the cassava is supposed to double the amount of the millet flour, because the cassava adds to the thickness of the millet bread.
I've tasted this a number of times, but I'm just learning that these two are actually mixed together. I always thought it's just millet. Well, we are now going to the preparation process, since we've gotten a chance to see how these other processes get to start, just from pounding and then to the winnowing stage. And here, just before us, is flour that is ready to be placed in water, like she said. Head there with us, and then let's see how the mingling is done. We are right in with the process. Maybe you can explain to us what you're doing here.
So right now, I am moving, and you add flour to the water after picking some little water from the one that had boiled, so that in case the millet becomes too thick, you add the water.
Does the mingling require a lot of energy, because it looks hectic?
Yes, it does.
Are you doing it for the first time?
No.
You talked about getting to understand that it's ready by the sound that it starts to produce, and the sound is already being heard. Does that mean it's ready?
No.
Not yet?
Yes, because it can still stick on the hands if you try to touch it.
Okay. So there you're trying to test if it is ready by not sticking on the.
Yes.
Okay.
The process got even more interesting when we got to the final part of preparation. I got a chance to also learn the skill myself, and more interesting even when students took a part in this. You heard from them, some of them are doing it for the first time, others have learned something from home, and others have learned from here. The most bit was about culinary tourism, and it has been a transformation from just exploring other foods. But right about now, it was about the Ugandan foods. And when we got back to what they've been doing in the foods and nutrition, they've been doing other foods, and now it has been an experience. And not to forget, this was also part of the museum that is in our background. Stick around, we are coming back with another segment where I still exploring what's in the school museum at Immaculate Heart Girls.
Brought to you by Uniquely Ours. Explore Uganda.
A very good morning to you. Thank you so much for watching UBC TV. Time for GMU Business, and we're starting off with matters Uganda and Somalia's relationship. Uganda and Somalia have reaffirmed their commitment to consolidate gains made on the battlefield into economic and social cooperation. This was underscored with the signing of a 3 key memoranda of understanding at the conclusion of the 2-day joint permanent commission held in Kampala. Presiding over the event, John Mulimba, the State Minister for Regional Affairs at the Foreign Affairs, noted that friendship between the two countries is rooted in shared sacrifices and mutual respect. The Uganda-Somalia Joint Permanent Commission ministerial session has featured the signing of the Memoranda of Understanding on Security, Immigration and Education. The MOUs were signed by the respective line ministers from both countries. While officiating the ministerial session, Minister John Mulimba emphasized the importance of consolidating the gains achieved since the inaugural session in 2022, also in Kampala. On the sidelines of the 2-day bilateral cooperation event, the Somalia delegation expressed optimism about advancing diplomatic and trade relations for mutual gains. Meanwhile, Uganda has flagged off its first consignment of ready-to-drink coffee to Mogadishu, a milestone aimed at expanding the market for Uganda's coffee in the Horn of Africa. Now, let's move on to matters tech. The Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development has called on innovators in the financial technology ecosystem to develop homegrown solutions aligned with the country's wealth creation programs, while officiating at the 7th FITSPA FinTech Conference in 2025. Bob Musenero, the Assistant Commissioner for Financial Services at the Ministry of Finance, emphasized the importance of leveraging existing integrated financial management systems to unlock the potential of SMEs and fully integrate them into money economy. To promote the inclusion of small and medium enterprises in the digital economy, the Ministry of Finance is urging fintech innovators to focus their startups on solving social financial challenges. Held under the theme Fintech for Sustainable Growth, Innovations, Investment and Inclusion, the 7th FinTech Conference showcased key government initiatives, including the parish development model, where fintech innovations are critical. However, more public sensitization is needed for effective adoption. The financial technology sector remains optimistic about the increasing flow of venture capital and corporate venture capital into Uganda. Artificial intelligence is also seen as a game changer for expanding financial inclusion and driving the development of impactful and accessible fintech solutions. Sector experts believe that supporting Uganda's micro, small and medium enterprises will acquire creativity and resilience from entrepreneurs and young innovators. This support is essential for delivering affordable credit, digital payment systems and strong financial management solutions. Well, that marks the end of what we have in business today, but let's have a look at what we have in the forex rates as of 8th October 2025. The US dollar opened at 3,427.55 and was selling at 3,437.55, and it gained at midday with 3,428.50 buying and selling at 3,438.50. And by end of day, it closed in at a slight drop of 3,427.59 and selling at 3,437.59. The British pound was buying at 4,589.02 and selling at 4,602.41, and the euro was buying at 3,980.97 and selling at 3,992.58. The Kenyan shilling bought at 26.52 and sold at 26.60, and the Tanzanian shilling remained at 1.39 and selling at 1.40. The South African rand was buying at 198.63 and selling at 199.21. And that's it for GMU Business. Up next is the agenda. Happy Independence Day, Uganda.
Taxation is a bit complicated, and the only way to demystify it and make it as easy to understand and to comply with is through engagement. Is there a limit to the number of cars a returning citizen is bringing into Uganda? Who has paid the excise duty on this water is not the supermarket which has sold you this bottle at 1,000. It's not the business, it is the man who is going to drink this water. We strongly believe that it will only be through such constructive engagement that we'll be able to broaden our tax base and build our country together.
Buza Commissioner. Now you can get direct answers. Send your tax-related questions via WhatsApp or SMS to 0790-141-887, and the Commissioner General of URA, John Musinguzi, will personally address them. Tune in to UBC News Tonight every Monday and Wednesday for expert insights and clear explanations. Buza Commissioner.
Every waking day is a reminder just how beautiful this, our land, truly is. The kind of beauty that you can only find here. in the lush green all around us and the wondrous sights within. It's what you feel in the gentle caress of tropical wind from the mountaintops, and the glow in your heart from a warm neighborly invite. It's in the distinct aroma of our cooking to the taste of food that takes you on a journey. In the sound of homecoming and the sound of Mother Earth. In the magnificence we find on our travels and the exciting moments we experience. Ours is the kind of beauty that comes in all things big and small. All we have to do is awaken our senses and truly enjoy what's uniquely ours. Explore Uganda, the pearl of Africa.
Exercise can't be sustained. Eating can't be stopped. It's even harder to lose weight. Come and give it a try. Ginshikang L-carnitine chromium capsules. Plant extract, scientific ratio. Take 3 capsules each time. The active ingredient accelerates fat burning, eat twice a day, don't take a detour. Weight loss starts now. Ginshikang L-carnitine with chromium capsules helps you stay in shape. Please follow medical advice when taking this product. For more information, visit our website www.hgo.com or call 0800 335555.
In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as guardians of information, defenders of truth. With Mascari Heritage Advantage, they uphold every citizen's right to reliable and free information. Their archived stories shaped our past and illuminate our present. Yet now, as new challenges arise and the world evolves, their mission faces its greatest test yet. Be part of our journey and let's navigate the unknown, uncover the untold, and safeguard our future together. Tune into your public broadcaster, for it is the intersection of trust and truth. Because to UBC, your story, every story, and every voice matters. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
The government's core mandate is to maintain law and order, safeguard citizens' rights, and provide essential public services.
Remember, one of the pillars of the roadmap is innovation and entrepreneurship.
There has been this question of how are you protecting our indigenous seed?
It's going to be a tall project that answers somebody's question.
The Front Bench has brought you insightful discussions on governance, security, healthcare, justice, and commerce.
Why do you go through this complicated procedure, involve the lawyers? You bring the case against him, The judge will hear you out and pass judgment, and you're out of court in record time.
We remain committed to keeping you informed and engaged on key national matters.
So these are huge, these are powerful organizations which now Uganda chairs. Why don't you come together?
If we haven't migrated to the e-card because of various reasons, including that not all the people of Uganda have smartphones.
You can sit in your house, apply for a passport. If you have a Ugandan who has a successful logistics firm in the US, it means he can come to Uganda and do a lot more.
Every Monday at 8:30 p.m. with me, Jethro Kasaiji, your interface with the government only on your public broadcaster, UBC, Inspiring Uganda.
Good morning, Uganda. On this 63rd birthday of Uganda, 9th October 2025, I welcome you to the show. If you're just joining us, this is Good Morning Uganda, coming to you live from UBC TV. If you started the show with us, thank you so much for watching UBC TV. And indeed, because it's independence, it's Uganda's birthday, every conversation is surrounding that and definitely highlighting what Uganda is like today, 63 years later. Be a part of the conversation, 0709602592. My name is Julie F. Nantaba, and joining me in studio is Mr. Luanga Christopher Apollo, who is a senior politician and was around at the time Uganda got independence. So if you're like me, that you love to learn from the old, those who have a lot of knowledge, a plethora of knowledge, now is the time for you to sit tight, buckle up, and let's learn together. Uganda at 63. Good morning, Mr. Luanga.
Good morning to you, Julie Nantaba. Glad to be here after some time.
Yes, sir.
And happy to find when standards have improved greatly.
Right. When we started the show early on in the morning,
yes,
one of the things I kept on wondering was thinking about whoever was around at Kololo Independence Grounds at midnight when Uganda was receiving its independence. That is when the Union Jack was being lowered and the Uganda flag being raised. What was that moment like? Take us through your own experience as an individual.
Unfortunately, by that time, I was about 6 to 7 months baby.
Right.
And much as I was that, I'm a political animal who has managed to build a linkage of our independence struggle. Our independence struggle started with the primary resistance, which brought in the picture people like Mwanga, people like Kabalega, people like Ibrahimu Akachi, the grandfather of Dr. Apollo Milton Obote. They are the first people who put up that fight. Then the second generation of our politicians, Ignatius Kangave Musazi, Bendi Kitochiwanuka, Apollo Milton Obote, Abu Mayanja, they completed the race as a secondary resistance or modern nationalism. Now, to link up the two is the final event at 9th October 1962. And precisely the Prime Minister, Dr. Apollo Milton Obote, who received the instruments of independence, equates the independence and the decolonization struggle as a relay. If you have done this sort of running, where you change batons, and you hand over to another person, this is exactly what happened. Others started the race and handed over the baton to the others. And the baton was handed over. So it was Obote now who did the final race on the behalf of others. And he never personalized the independence. It was a movement. So when the Union Jack was being lowered and the Ugandan flag was being hoisted, that was the greatest moment, which did not only inspire Uganda, it inspired East Africa, it inspired the rest of Africa. And it gave an opportunity to Uganda to state where they want to go. One thing which Obote made very clear, that our independence and sovereignty cannot be shared, cannot be compromised. So in such type of environment, you are seeing that the younger Uganda is determined to push forward, okay? Pushing forward on all fronts of nationalism, Pan-Africanism, and internationalism. Small as we are, young as we are ready to assert the voice, since we had already come out of the colonial yoke. So the atmosphere was of that nature, but that atmosphere also brought its own challenges. Because you take an example, all our societies, whether Batolo, Baganda, Banyolo, Acholi people, all those people, they had come up and had been brought up in their traditional systems. They knew very well their traditional systems. They had lived with them for a very long time. But now this new elephant in the room, known as the Uganda government, born on 9th October 1962, was totally a different ball game. So they had also their issues to overcome. Yes, before they knew that the referee is there, and is the white man, and is the British. That is leaving to who? Okay, much as we celebrated at Kololo, some areas started showing that we may have issues. And indeed we had issues with the time, we had issues. Issues did not take long. And these issues, it was unfortunate that the British colonial master had not resolved them. They remained unresolved. For instance, the first and the most worrying issue, when the British took over Uganda in 1894, they said, we have found Uganda in this shape. We shall uphold whatever we have found. So if they found you in Bunyoro with your Omukama, you remained there with your Omukama. If they found you in Ankole with your Mugabe, you remained with your Mugabe. If they found you with your Kabaka, you remained with your Kabaka. That meant that integration of our society became so much limited, okay? As the integration of our society became so much limited, the British defended themselves that we are following a policy of indirect rule, where you remain in your locality, whether tribal, whether regional, remain there, but integration. Now, that one now worked against the nationalists who wanted to forge unity. How did it work against? Our Kenyatta, when he started mobilizing Kenyans, they all rallied behind him without looking backwards. Nyerere, the same thing. Kaunda, the same thing. It is only Nkrumah who had a bit of problems with the Ashantis, okay? But every leader of that type, people were rallying behind and moving towards the capital with one voice. But for us, it was difficult. Musazi starts it. As soon as he starts it, Mengo warns him that we don't want politics here. Now, if you don't want politics, how are you going to enter the modern world?
Mr. Luanga, allow me interject there.
Yes,
now
interject.
that
Feel free.
you bring that topic,
Yes.
and the other day somebody was saying that the reason why as Ugandans, when it comes to having one voice, in regards to different issues affecting our nation economically in this day and age, it's rather hard, and this is informed by our history.
Yes.
And they compared us to Kenya, given that Kenya had one voice from the start, so much so that even their public affairs are managed indeed by the public. The public affairs ministry and everything that goes on, their constitution is just in one solid shape because the public has a lot to say. Whilst when you come to Uganda, everyone has their own opinion, some fight, some don't. So in your opinion as a veteran, someone who has been here for a long time and has a plethora of information and wisdom, do you think that the same exact picture you've painted is what is affecting us now as Ugandans? The fact that at that time, whilst Kangave Musazi is coming up, Mengo is stopping him. Whilst someone else is coming up, someone another is stopping him from speaking up. Do you think it's affecting us as a nation right now, 63 years later?
I'm a qualified historian from Makerere University. And we normally agree as historians that it is very, very important to know the past. The past can inform you about the present, and the past can inform you, can guide you, can project the future. Now, when you go into the past, Uganda was not going to be okay in the same situation Kenya has been, in the same situation Tanzania has been. Those countries have been lucky that to generate consensus, even when they are coming out of chaos, it is relatively easy. Unlike the context of Uganda, okay? Uganda normally has that sort of situation of missed opportunities, of failing to crack a consensus. Yes, they have brought in Kenya. You have cited Kenya. Take an example of Kenya. When Jomo Kenyatta was arrested with his colleagues, whom they called the Kapunguria Six, because they were arrested and imprisoned in Kapunguria, those 6 nationalists of Kenya, they approached Laila's father, that is Jaramogi Odinga, and they told him, my friend, we are ready to give you the instruments of independence. Jaramogi insisted that until you release our leader from Kapenguria prison, maximum prison, that is when I can cooperate with you. But we have our leader, who is Jomo Kenyatta. Jaramogi is a Luo, but is standing in solidly saying, release Kenyatta to have the instruments of independence. If it was Ugandan context, I think you would see everybody rushing to say, you give me, I'm better qualified, okay? But Kenya, it did not happen, okay? And yet they wanted to tempt, okay, the people to accept, Jaramogi to accept. So it really gives us a problem. It really gives us a problem. And to add more to it, historically, you will find that our state formation was not through persuasion. Our state formation and nation building was essentially through fights, through struggles. I can say this, and I don't want to offend anyone. The original Buganda kingdom consisted of 2 counties. That is Chadondo and Busiro. Whatever was added on to make it 18 counties, to make it 20 counties, was done at the expense of other societies, like Ankole and Bunyoro. However, we must appreciate, and our central government should copy this seriously. Buganda from day one said we are building a nation state. Once we capture an area with its people who have a different culture, we have to assimilate, total assimilation. Give them a clan, give them somebody to marry, let them resettle somewhere, let them work, let them be productive, okay? Let them build that image that we are building a nation state. If Uganda managed to build a nation state, why don't we borrow some leaf as a country now independent, 63 years, to see how vividly we can build a nation state? And we build a nation state through culture, through language, through joint activities, all those where we interact.
Just so I should get you clear.
Yes.
When you say a nation state as borrowed from the leaf of what Buganda built,
yes,
do you mean the federal system of governance?
No, I don't mean federal.
Please
I don't
make it
mean
clear
federal.
for me.
I don't mean federal.
Yes.
What I knew, as I have given you an analogy, that Buganda started from 2 counties. This is the Busiro and the Chadondo. But beyond those 2 counties, whichever county they got, they incorporated, total integration. And you could find that almost everybody in Buganda by that time was speaking one language, okay? Was worshiping one leader, adopted a new culture, okay? All the systems were geared towards that nation state. So this is what I intended to mean.
Yes, and that would
but
make
then
sense.
when you push it at a central level, central government, okay, when we have now become bigger, we are still having issues, which is our official language. Okay, is it English? Is it Swahili? Is it Uganda? Is it what? Okay, we still have those issues up to now.
63 years later.
Yes, and you find that when a leader is to visit, let me say Chigezi, he must carry an interpreter. When a leader is to visit Karamoja, he has to carry an interpreter. When a leader is to visit in Tororo, he has to carry an interpreter. But that was not the situation with the Buganda, which was building a nation state. Anywhere you could go, within Buganda, you could talk the same language. The culture you had acquired, okay? And these are building from the formerly 2 counties, that is Chadondo and Busiro.
Now, in 18...
I hope you have understood me.
I've understood you, sir.
Wonderful.
In 1894, when the British took over
yes,
Uganda and decided to make it a protectorate, at that time they found that it had organized kingdoms
yes,
and chiefdoms.
Yes.
And decided that they should rule it as
yes,
a nation, decided to put it together
yes,
as one country.
Yes.
Do you think in this day and age, 63 years later, and why I'm asking this is I've had some of the presidential candidates during this campaign season
yes,
promise that they would want to go back to the federal system of governance.
Yes.
Do you think 63 years later, with all the history that we have, that is possible now?
I have a problem with the way the British completed their game of colonization. And the way they completed their game of colonization of Uganda was through a blueprint known as 1900 Uganda Agreement. Some call it Buganda Agreement. Now, that agreement in itself was to haunt Uganda for a very long time, even after independence. Why? This is an agreement which created a state within a state. Okay? It gave Buganda Kingdom a special position. Okay? And at the same time also, it gave Buganda Kingdom a privileged position. Okay? Now, to sustain all that, okay, it meant that Buganda's dominance remains unchallenged, okay? And independence in itself, once it is coming, it means equality, equal voice, okay? And for independence to be successful, it means power sharing, okay? So when you look at it, we lived with that arrangement from that time of 1900 agreement. But 1900 agreement confirmed the loss of Buyaga, Bugangazi, and Buwekula from Bunyoro to Buganda. And the Banyoro said on their dead bodies, they will never relent. They have to get back their counties. So the 1900 agreement created some lost territories within the country. And the Banyoro had an obligation of hunting down their lost counties. And when we went for Lancaster independence discussion, Bunyoro said they are not going to get involved unless the issue of the lost counties is put on the agenda. So the British had thought they had avoided it. They got caught up with it at Lancaster when they are trying to give independence. And the only way now to resolve the matter was to agree on a referendum, which they made a constitutional requirement in the Independence Constitution of 1962, that not more than 2 years, we should have a referendum to ask these people in the 3 lost counties whether they want to be independent from Buganda and from Bunyoro, or they want to rejoin Bunyoro. That was the basic referendum question. But it was put that after 2 years, okay, not more than 2 years. That meant that we could not go precisely beyond 1964. And it was written in the Constitution, okay? Now, here we are. Dr. April Milton Obote is a younger Prime Minister. Already, King Freddy Kabaka Sir Edward Mutesa has become a president. He's the one to sign the instruments for the referendum. And Buganda had an interesting history, which is unparalleled. In their movement from Chadondo, Busiro to other 18 or 20 counties, Buganda had never lost an inch of land. Since Uganda had never lost an inch of land, the referendum became a do or die affair. Who is going to be caught up to witness Buganda kingdom losing land? Okay? Who is going to be caught up in that mess? Who is behind King Fred? Which line up? Okay? So these were very sensitive issues. Dr. April Milton Obote revealed to some of us that he realized that King Fred was in real trouble. So he had to run to Parliament and amend laws that if the president does not sign the first time, the second time, the third time, then the Prime Minister comes in to sign on his behalf. And that is how now the referendum process was handled and the results, because it would have looked very awkward if you put yourself in the shoes of King Fred to sign away Buyaga and Bugangazi. It would have been very awkward. Okay. However, who paid the heavy price? It is his Prime Minister, Michael Chintu, and his cabinet. Mengo had to carve in and say, you have not delivered. Mikhail Chintu, much as you led us to the independence, you did the negotiation on this lost county issue, you have not delivered. And his government collapsed. And this is when now The younger lawyer, the young economics, Joshua Mayanja Nkanji steps in, becomes the youngest prime minister, super educated from London, from Britain. Michael Chintu was a primary 5-4 graduate, okay? But he knew the art of administration. He knew how you could run the kingdom. And he was the one who negotiated the rest of the stuff with the Buganda. So what we are trying to say, some of these old issues, whether to do with the British through colonial times, which is about 68 years, caught up with us during the post-independence era. And the ramification of the lost count issues now created another room where this politics, which does not recognize the unofficial leader, started causing problems. Some saw that they can cash in. They can cash in. In fact, there is a leader they don't talk about very much, Grace Ibingira. Yes, Grace Ibingira saw it as another opportunity now, where he can convince Mengo that if you support me in my initiative, I can reverse your suffering of the lost counties. And this is how now Ibingira is starting to mobilize other leaders and even making promises which are complicated. Because he mobilized Barachikiria from Bukedi on a promise that he would make him somebody. He mobilized the Mengo on a promise that they would make somebody. Dr. Lumu, I think, is the second last to die in that group. Dr. Lumu, this former agriculture minister in Busoga, Ngobi Mathias, then Magezi from Bunyolo, then who else? There were 5. Okay. So they were mobilized. But for Ibingira to get the support, it was more connected with the lost county issues.
Right.
Yes.
Wow, a lot of history to take in. I hope you are enjoying it as I am learning a lot. 63 years later of Uganda's independence, and I hope that as this history is being delivered, you are also picking nuggets of how best you can serve your nation. For when you know where we came from, you're able to serve where we are going. 0709602592 is the WhatsApp number that you should engage and be a part of the conversation. And somebody comes through and says, good morning, Uganda. This is Odaro Vincent from Morukatipe in Tororo. Thank you to the guest in studio. By the fact that we are not under the oppressive colonial rule, Uganda now at 63 years is fully independent. Special thanks to all our leaders who struggled to usher us into independence. The day is worthy to be celebrated. Happy independence celebrations to all Ugandans. Now, Mr. Luanga, let's look at the theme of this year's independence and what you think about it. The theme is a reason to double our efforts in sustaining a united and progressive nation. What do you think? What comes to your mind when you think about, when you hear this theme?
We are even late. As early as 1969, Dr. Prometheus Obote, when he was delivering the independence speech, he said we should redouble, we should work extra hard, we should forge ahead, and we should know where we are going from here. Okay. Now, when you look at today's theme, it was supposed even to have been there in 1986. Okay. We need to be more energetic. We need to be more vibrant. We need to be more resolute in whatever we are doing. This going to Nambole and we start crying that Uganda cranes as rusty, we bring mathematics. It shows that we are not ready for independence. We are not ready to move as a sovereign state. We are not determined. Okay? Clement Westerhoff, the coach of Nigeria, Super Eagles, which terrorized the entire world, he simply said you just need Igbo players who are determined to lift the flag of the Green Eagles, and he brought in those. Why haven't we been so much focused, determined? Okay? Independence means breaking the back. how many Ugandans have gone in to break the back, to work for the future, to work for the good of the country, to be patriotic, not to be told to patriotism, to practice nationalism. So you find that we have slept in the revolution, okay? Where we are, and Uganda's thing, by the way, try to understand it in this context. We had moved on very well. Amin came in, interrupted. So whatever Amin interrupted became a responsibility of subsequent governments to first rehabilitate, reconstruct, bring back to the level. Then we start moving forward. Now as we are moving forward, we have challenges of which economic direction should we take. Mixed economic model or privatization. And we invested now in a private sector-led economy, where all our symbols of independence got privatized. We lost out. Though some people will still defend that getting rid of public corporations was a blessing in disguise. I don't agree. Because it is a nursery where you train people. Take an example of Radio Uganda, which is now UBC. How many journalists has it trained? Okay, how many? And I'm told that the journalists from UBC sell like a hot cake when they go to private media.
Very true indeed. That is Mr. Luanga Christopher Apollo. He is a seasoned politician. And indeed, as we look at 63 years of Uganda's independence, is one we thought we deemed right rather, to speak into this particular matter, this conversation, as he teaches us a lot of history, but also reflects from his perspective the way things should be, as opposed to how they are. We are coming back with him, and Robert will be definitely taking over. But let's first have way for Ruben to give us what's up in the world of sports, Ugandan sports 63 years later as well. Would be lovely to reflect on that. Happy Independence Day, Uganda.
Exercise can't be sustained. Eating can't be stopped. It's even harder to lose weight. Come and give it a try. Genshikang L-carnitine chromium capsules. Plant extract, scientific ratio. Take 3 capsules each time. The active ingredient accelerates fat burning,